welcome to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 102. You're joining myself, Chris, from the Helix Cloud Games channel, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
I'm a bit rough today. We were kind of out drinking for pretty much all day yesterday, so please bear with me, everyone.
I feel quite fresh. It was for my birthday, and I'm another year older, but I don't feel that bad. But we went day drinking. I think there's a big difference between going out all day having a drink and having a late one and then having to recover for early next morning.
Yeah, I don't feel as tired as I would usually after like a drinking session, but there again I got home a bit after 10, so it wasn't like I was up to like 4 in the morning or anything. Wasn't
too late. And speaking of getting to things late, we also have a lovely special guest joining us, all the way from the CloudGamingDad channel as well. We've got our good friend Lee. Welcome along, Lee.
How you doing, lads? You okay?
Yes, well...
Yeah.
We just covered that there. I was well aware we got off into a tangent.
I'm actually better than I expected to be, put it that way.
Better than you expected to be. Of course, you, ladies and gentlemen out there, are joining us for episode 102 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, where we round up all of the gaming and Stadia news for your listening and viewing pleasure here at youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games and out there in the digital cloud on your podcast service of choice. We are joined, of course, by Lee from the Cloud Gaming Dad channel, but we'll get into a little bit about why Lee's here today, filling in for, of course, the techie teacher, Mr. Tom himself. But before we do all that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell down below so you're kept in the loop with all of the other Stadia content we do here at Helix Cloud Games, because we do quite a lot. We bring you first looks, we do live streams, we do community feeds, we've got a Discord server if you want to chat to other people like myself, Richie and Lee. That's quite vibrant, lots of people active on there. Jump in the description below and join in the conversation. We've got a great show lined up. This week we're going to be talking about all of the juicy Stadia news that's came out. We're going to be talking about the community blog, our extra new pro games. Some people love them, some people not so much. We'll dive into all that. Another surprise secret, Ubisoft expanding to other countries, and a special celebration coming up this week, or this next week I should say, from THQ Nordic, and may they well have some new Stadia surprises in the bag. But we'll get into all that in just a short while. But to kickstart episode 102, Lee, you're our special guest for the day. We've known you a long time now, actually. It's probably been well over, I'd say, a year and a half, maybe?
Yes. Round about that since the first time I popped into one of your podcasts.
Yeah, so
on a Monday.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of, with you having others on the show, obviously, first of all, tell the lovely people out there, our viewers and listeners, who you are exactly, what you do, and what got you into Stadia content creation in the first place.
Obviously, you all know, well, some of you may know me as Lee, aka the Cloud Gaming Dad, over on the Cloud Gaming Dad channel. It was actually you guys here at Helix Cloud Gaming and Rock and Ray that sort of inspired me for the content creation. It was when direct streaming, when that became available, and I jumped all over that, but unfortunately my equipment wasn't that good.
Been there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did it all from a laptop. Exactly where I'm sat now, via Wi-Fi, because they didn't have the wires and all the equipment, and a little mic from Argos, which cost about £10, and it was very guerrilla style. But yeah, I've just progressed over time. I love it. I love nothing more than sitting down and, getting the guys involved. I love everything about it. The community is an amazing place to be.
Yeah, it 100% is.
That's how everyone started in the first few episodes of the Sound Stadia podcast. I didn't even own a webcam. Like, Jenny didn't have one.
Yeah, we just.
I was using a headset. I was using a headset microphone I just happened to have for the first couple of episodes of the podcast. Yeah. You just got to start with what you've got really.
Yeah, everyone has to start somewhere. I mean, our SideQuest episode of 2 weeks ago, Richie, was about just being a content creator for over a year. And again, similar to you, Lee, I bet you didn't even class yourself as that when you began. It was just a case of, I like games, this community seems cool, and like the direct streaming obviously gave you a bit of a push into the door to just go for it. And I'm sure, like us, you've invested a lot of your own hard-earned cash into getting better equipment, better setup. And you're doing fantastic. It's great to see your channel grow. I remember just like all the milestones you're hitting when you post out and say like 300, 400, 500, 600. Yeah. So if you're watching along and you've not checked out Lee's channel already, head over there, subscribe. You're getting close to that 1K in the bright sun. It all changes after 1K, Lee.
Really?
It really does, yeah. It's all of the behind-the-scenes stuff gets flipped on its head. You've got membership stuff to figure out. Super chats start coming in. But it's great because it just gives you more tools to engage with your wonderful audience out there, which I know a lot of them, we share a lot of amazing people out there who do watch along. But so content creation, Lee, it's ticking over nicely. Anything in particular in the future days, weeks that people should look out for on your channel?
I am, at the time of recording this, I think I'm about 815 subscribers, so I have set myself a target of 950. And once I get to 950, can't believe I'm going to do this again, another 24-hour stream. Not for charity. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit here for 24 hours, play a variety of Stadia games, and target for 1,000 subscribers before the end of the 24-hour stream. Or whichever comes first, 1,000 subscribers or 24 hours. So yeah, that's worth keeping an eye out for, I would think.
You certainly do enjoy setting yourself a challenge.
Yeah, I always like to challenge myself and set myself targets. It's the way I've lived life, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a good way to approach things. I'm excited to see what it ends up being then. But interesting you should mention that. Definitely check that out, folks, if you haven't done so already. I know you've got a few things scheduled. There's a lot of Avengers content just gone up. So go check that out. But with you mentioning charity there, it's a great point that we should mention, Richie. We are doing our Sounds of Stadia celebration. This again, it's another whole year has passed. I know, Lee, actually, last year when we did it, you were there for, I think, the whole day. If I remember rightly, almost the whole day. We did the podcast live to kickstart the day, and then we just played games all the way through till, funny enough, I think it was Avengers, Richie, at like 2 o'clock in the morning. We wrapped up.
I think we went for a total like maybe 16 hours on that stream.
It's not quite.
And it wasn't planned as like a 24-hour stream or anything. It wasn't an attempt to do that. That's just how long we went for.
Yeah, just having fun, playing games with the wonderful people out there, and it went great. But yeah, we wanted to bring it up because it's coming around again, second anniversary. 30th of September is the correct date, but we're going to put it on the weekend because it makes sense. So 2nd of October, Saturday the 2nd of October, we'll have our second celebration for 2021. And this year we wanted to do something different, and we wanted to give back a little bit to not necessarily the communities out there, but just help support and raise some funds for some good causes. So far we've got earmarked. We're going to look at the Alzheimer's Society and the fight against dementia. So we'll get a Just Giving page set up. Richie, you've got a charity that you're really passionate about. We're going to look at into as well.
Doing something for maybe motor neuron disease, because unfortunately someone I used to work with has recently passed because of her disease.
Yeah, so we'll look into...
It's just my way of kind of giving back a bit.
Yeah. 100%. And with it being the second year, we thought rather than just play games for 16 hours potentially again, let's do something positive with it, even more so than just enjoying some time with ourselves and the community. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll get some promotion stuff out there for that. But yeah, 2nd of October, we hope you join us and hopefully raise some money for a good cause as well. Lee, and actually speaking of, we'll throw it back over to you again. You did some great charity work last year for the Fair Share charity in Greater Manchester. Was it last year or this year? Now I say it out loud.
This year. It seems like last year.
It feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah. We raised over £2,500 for Fair Share Greater Manchester. Yeah, it was an amazing day. One day I'll never forget. We had some amazing people join us throughout the stream. We got Roger, and I can't remember his name now. The guy who played John Marston getting involved as well. They did some short clips for us as well. So it was hard work putting it together, but it was definitely worth it to change lives. I think that's what we did at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and help feed a lot of people.
All for a great cause. So yeah, keep it locked to all our channels. We'll give you some more news on that in the near future. But moving into the rest of the show, there's a couple of videos and content that has been up on the channel the last couple of weeks that we'd love you to go check out. I myself went to London for a vacation, and it was nice to get away. And while I was there, I figured out I've got an appointment booked into the Shard to go for some drinks with the wife. And while I was there, I had to ask for permission, of course, and say, do you mind, while we're at 800 feet in the air, can you just record me just playing video games for just a couple of minutes, just so I can fabricate this video together. Because again, Stadia, cloud gaming, it's all about the ability to play, in theory, anywhere where you have signal or decent connection. So what better place to check it out than 800 foot up in the air? So yes, I took along my Razer Kishi, a phone, and in between drinks and admiring the view, cracked it open, played a little bit of Destiny, a little bit of FIFA, a little bit of Avengers, and it ran fine, actually surprisingly well, overlooking the City of London, Tower Bridge, and all the sites below. So I have to specifically do a special shout out to my wife for the patience and allowing me to do that mid-holiday, of course, as well, when we're supposed to be living the high life, celebrating some time away from work and podcasting and everything. And I'd never live it down if I didn't say thanks.
Yeah, literally he wouldn't, because literally she brought it up yesterday to make sure that he would.
It's because
I've got visions of you sat there going, love, while we're up here, 800 foot, I've got my Kishi with me. Could you just film me, please, for the channel?
You know what? She was really understanding of it. She came up with some great ideas for like getting angles and what parts to record. And again, just putting up with me while I'm stood. We got about 4 or 5 different introductions. One at the Tower of London, overlooking the Shard across the river. I ended up ironically using just the self-held selfie cam that I did myself. But it's something about being on camera. It's so nerve-wracking still, even though I'm just recording it.
When I watched the video, I was like, so you're doing the intro in the middle of the street. It's like, oh, that must be nerve-wracking. Just like the people walking by and like you're doing the whole content creator thing.
It is, yeah. The first few takes we did outside of the Tower of London, and it was near the exit because it had the best view of the river and Tower Bridge and the Shard. And yeah, every time I'd get like 20 seconds into the introduction, a family would walk out of like Tower, like just on their own holiday. But it's like, now I'm conscious of them seeing me. I'm conscious of talking out loud and trying, like, being, I guess, a podcast person. I was like, I'm very self-conscious very, very quickly. And it's like, scrap that take. We'll just keep going.
You get in your head and you fumble your intro.
Yeah, you slur your words and all this and that. But I got it done, and there was nothing. It was also trying to get out the Kishi and Stadia up at 800 foot, because, don't believe me wrong, at the top of the building, it's a very narrow floor space you're on, and there's a lot of people up there. So to try and find a little corner and, like, crack open this and open up FIFA, and everyone's going, like, what's that guy doing over there? Because, gaming isn't quite accepted as a universal thing to do in public yet. And obviously nobody carries the game consoles around. So, I'm sat there playing FIFA, and there's these other kids who are up there with their mum and dad thinking, why the hell does he get to play FIFA and I have to sit here and be well-behaved, enjoying the sights of London? I'm a child. I just want to do daft things. But, great video. Go check it out. It's only about 3 minutes long. But in a nutshell, Stadia works. 800 foot plus up in the air. So I'd love anyone out there, tweet at us, comment, send us a video link if you managed to play Stadia at a higher height. Because I feel safe and quite confident right now, guys, to say that I think I probably played it higher than anyone else has on this planet.
Record. You got the world record for how high you can play Stadia.
It won't work on a plane because you don't get signal up there, and the latency must be terrible. But in a capital city, 800 foot up, I'd love someone to prove me wrong. Like, I saw a couple of people tweet and say, like, there's a couple of places in Paris that'd love to try it out. But at this time, I'm going to hold my hand up and say I don't think anyone's played it higher than me.
That sounds like a challenge to any content creator. Any content creators watching this, that's the challenge. Do it. Can you play it at high altitude than Chris?
It is cool marketing. It does. Like the fact I didn't have to lug a games console, a television, an Ethernet cable 800 foot up in the air to get that. I just took my phone, I took a Kishi, and I was able to play AAA titles literally in the cloud. So, where's the highest place you two have played Stadia, gents?
It's impossible. It's my house.
So there's quite a bit of a margin. So everyone watching out there.
It's my house, so I have an extra floor than a lot of people, but it's probably my house.
Blackpool's only an hour away from me, so I could go and try Blackpool Town. I'm not sure how high that is.
Part of me thinks the Shard might be higher, but I don't know. And I actually did think, I said in the video as well, I said 1,000 foot because the Shard's over 1,000 foot tall, thinking that I was going to be at the very tip of the thing, out there blowing a gale. And realistically, the actual commercial area you're allowed in is only on the 72nd floor. Quite close to the top.
High up into the lightning rod at the top of the building.
Well, I didn't quite fancy being them idiot YouTubers who go out and like no cables or wires and climb parkour over the top of things and throw their lives away potentially just to get an Instagram shot. I'm a lot more, without pardon the pun, grounded than that. I'm not going to be doing that. Get arrested and kicked out of the building and all that. But Great video, nonetheless. It just goes to show you can play Stadia absolutely anywhere with very minimal tools and setup. So it's terrific. It's great. Flight Simulator would work great on a plane if Microsoft ever get xCloud sorted out with that up on their commercial flights. But aside from that video, Richie, you also opened up your own little big workshop this past Thursday. It's one of our pro games. How did you find that?
Well, I found the secret to business is just to make rubber ducks. That's the only way to save off bankruptcy.
Who knew? Who knew? How was the game?
Well, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the game. Like I haven't had a chance to play again because I've literally spent most of my time with you, Chris, since that recording or at work. But I will be playing more of it.
Terrific stuff. It's the one that I've not quite looked at yet. I opted to look at Ark Survival Evolved, which we will be talking about in just a short while. Before we move on, though, Lee, what have you been playing this week on Stadia?
I've been playing a lot of Marvel Avengers. I did a playthrough on a Sunday night of the original Avengers content. And then when Black Panther came out, I played through that, and then I realised I've not played through the previous two either, so I've been playing through them as well, and I've just got the Hawkeye stuff to do now. So yeah, I've been plugging a lot of time into that as of late.
Wonderful.
Really enjoying it as well, really enjoying it.
Yeah, the Avengers one, it's again, I know we've went back and forth over this on the channel with us a few times, Richie, but I don't mind the grind on it because I'm just the little child inside of me that's playing a superhero game, forgoes all that, because I am Black Panther, I am Iron Man, I am Captain America, and I don't like... I feel like the game could even be more basic and I'd still be like, I'm just smashing stuff up as a hero. Like, I'm down for that all day. And the Kate Bishop stuff, Lee, in particular, like the way she wields the katana and has the teleportation powers.
Yeah.
It's so seamless, and the archery in that game is quite decent anyway. So it's all round, I think she's a really great character. One of which I didn't know much about anyway, because she's not been in the MCU. Oh. She's not really been in the comics or the cartoons or anything that much. So... again, just more room, I think, to create a decent backstory for her. And I think they do a good job. It was probably better they introduced her earlier rather than later down the line when she's kind of like the B-list characters. I think throwing her in early, then saving some of the big hitters for behind the scenes.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I think she's a nice tie-in to introducing Hawkeye himself.
Yeah,
the way they've linked the stories. So from what I've seen,
yeah, and we will be seeing more because my understanding is that we're getting a Hawkeye TV series on Disney Plus, and Kate Bishop is supposed to be one of the key tie-ins because I've seen they've definitely cast someone to play her in that. So not too long till we see all that, and I'm sure once she's out there in the MCU world, all of a sudden the in-game tie-in makes more sense because people know who she is. She's in pop culture. She's at the cinema. On TV, that kind of deal as well. So
I think this week as well, on the 8th, the developers are releasing a roadmap of content coming on the 8th of September, so it's worth keeping an eye out for that.
Definitely. All those PlayStation players out there may finally play with Spider-Man after a year, and I think the game's been out over a year now, right? Past its anniversary.
Yes, they're celebrating this week. It was the 4th of September, I think it was out.
Now, as a little side topic then, imagine... how would you feel if you'd bought a game with the intention to play a specific exclusive part of the game and it's been over a year since you actually got what you've paid for, essentially?
Like us waiting for FIFA, wasn't it?
I mean, actually, that's a great comparison. Yeah, it would be like us waiting for certain things. Mafia,
yes.
I might as well mention Mafia while we're here. You've done it, Lee. You've brought Mafia up. We did finally get Ark Survival Evolved, of course, as a pro game, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Just a quick one on Mafia this week. I don't want to spend too long going on it. Mafia Definitive Edition Trilogy, 345 days since console release.
Wow.
We are coming up on that annual anniversary, and we're yet to hear a peep from Hangar 13, 2K, or the Stadia team. So maybe it is a year's exclusivity. If we pass one whole year and we said nothing more about it, it's... either way, that is what it is. Speaking of things that are not here or not real, potentially, Retcon Ritual, Richie. We very rarely have Retcon Rituals on the show because we try and dig up the most factual things for the store, and we usually don't talk about any news that's not cemented in proof. However, there was a story that dropped last week that we couldn't ignore because it was potentially huge, and that was, of course, the Mandalorian video game that was teased on Stadia by one Christopher Turner. And for those who keep tuned into social feeds will know that it wasn't real. So,
nope.
Richie, Retcon Ritual, last week, we broke it down.
So yeah, we broke it down on the view of like, could it be real or not? So speculating what we both thought, but it turns out Christopher Turner has admitted in a YouTube video that it is a fake game. Like the game still actually exists, but it's not. He was born out of his own love for Star Wars, and just basically a summer project for himself. So, big shout out to Christopher Turner for actually just because he could have just not said anything, for actually coming out and going no and explaining the situation. But I still stand by that game looked awesome. And I would love to play it. So Christopher Turner, make the game and pitch it to Disney.
Yeah, it's a story of two sides, because you can imagine there was loads of people who were upset and angry. There was loads of journalists, like bigger websites, picked up on it. Is it real? Is it not real? People broke it down. Our results yesterday last week came down to, I thought it was fake. You thought it was real, Richie. What was your take on this, Lee? Are you a big Mandalorian fan as well? And
yeah,
how were your emotions with this? Like, it could be a Stadia game, and then it's not real.
I absolutely adore The Mandalorian. I love the series. When I saw it, I was a bit suspicious of it. But the fact that it's turned out fake, it's not bothered me. I've learned now, being a Stadia user, not to get on the hype train when I see something. I lower my expectations. So that's where they've been ever since. And when I saw this, it did look a bit fake to me. Yeah,
there was a few things he mentioned in his break. Again, go and check out Christopher Turner's video channel. I'm sure there's links all over the place. I think our last week's episode has the link in the description for the actual breakdown video. But yeah, he basically said he's a massive fan. He uses Unreal Engine. He is a game developer in some way. He had a summer off, and he basically just poured all of his heart and passion for Star Wars and The Mandalorian into making this. Started off by just making 1 or 2 bits, and then the assets just he managed to find stuff from Unreal source code regarding other things, and just before he knew it, he was making the whole game essentially running, and the Stadia overlay, which again, credit to him, he said he plays Stadia as his #1 place for enjoying games, and he wanted to show a bit of love for the platform by creating the overlay to come in when he pressed the pause button. And again, he got the text, the font, and it just shows his dedication to this hobby and this craft, that he was able to make something that a lot of places did believe to be real. Again, big shame it's not, but I think, anything on Stadia, Lee, we always approach with a sceptical eye of, we'll believe it when we see it, I think is the safe assumption to make. I know people have been giving him loads of crap about it, but at the end of the day, guys...
I don't get why you give him crap for it, because he's made something for fun and a love for two passions, Star Wars and gaming, and then when it probably blew up in a way he wasn't expected, he's come out and explained the situation. There's no crap to be given.
Yeah, there was a few situations where I've seen people reached out to him and he didn't deny it was fake. He didn't agree that it was fake, so he kind of could have probably opened up about it a little bit sooner rather than later, when obviously news websites started to pick up on it and such. But either, things move on. Hopefully it'll just give EA or whoever holds the Star Wars license a bit of encouragement to make it. If one guy in his basement can make this over the course of a summer, what the hell can a AAA studio with hundreds of employees and a massive budget do, realistically? So hopefully it'll, if anything, just fan the flames of hunger for a Mandalorian game. So again, credit where credit's due. It looks beautiful. Maybe could have approached it differently, but that's not for us to judge. Final things before we move into the news this week. Tom is still away on paternity leave with his little baby. He's also going back to school this week, not the baby, Tom. He is, of course, a teacher. Summer holidays are over in the UK. I'm sure they are over in your countries out there in the world too. So, hashtag for this week, Richie, what would you like to pester Tom with? Because, Lee, we give Tom shit every week because he's not here, and as friends, that's what you do with your friends.
That's what you do.
Wind them up, you chew them when they're not there. So, Richie, what hashtags should we send to Tom this week?
Oh, I don't know, to be honest. I don't have anything good in mind. Do you have anything, Lee, that you might want to chuck out? How do we pester Tom? Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think? Back to school? Because teachers hate it when they go back to school.
Yeah, back to school.
Back to school with the actual number 2.
Yeah, with the 2, We've got to keep it hip and cool on this channel, Lee. Back to school.
Spell school with a K as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
That'll really... that'll really get his grammar up, So back to school with a K, like the cool kids do. Hashtag, of course, at AdaxisLP. We know he watches the show, so we know he hears this every week as we come up with these ideas. Yeah. But just tweet at him, back to school. Or, Richie, you've spelled it with EWL.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't know if I like that one.
Spelling
I think that might be too far.
I think it's too far.
Maybe too far, yeah.
However you want.
However you want. Either way, it's there to just wind Tom up while he's on paternity leave. And goes back to school as well. Good luck with that, because of course, it's a crazy time to be in school right now. But we're that far away from that, and we're that far away from the end of this show. So Lee, as our guest, and in Tom's absence, it's time on tradition that our guests introduce us to the...
It's time for the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
And it's been a great news week for Stadia, in and amongst Mandalorians being real or not real. We've also had a lot of stuff officially from the Stadia team, and we'll be breaking all that down right here, right now. So story number one, we got a community blog post dropped this week from the Stadia team, giving us some updates on some titles, some features, but more importantly, we got a nice surprise, gentlemen, of 2 new pro games, just out of nowhere. The first one... which one do I approach first with this? I guess we've got to go with the big one. Ark Survival Evolved. Finally here. We said on last week's episode, the summer is almost out. So what is it doing here? And we need to decide, essentially, what this game has done for the platform over the last couple of days, because I've seen a lot of people on the internet not too happy with the port. We've got a first look up on the channel. It's finally here, we should say that. It's available to claim, as promised, this summer, after the delay. And we've probably all got different takes and versions of it. We've all played different amounts. My first look is up on the channel right now, for people to go check out. But Richie, I'll throw it over to you to start off with. You've played probably less than an hour of this title. Give us your first impressions of Ark Survival Evolved running on Stadia.
I don't want to go too much into this personally, because I've got an idea for a side quest for this week. It's going to be centered around how Ark arrived on the platform. But to sum up my views on it, I played for about 30 minutes and decided that quality of port wasn't worth my time. And I generally don't think if I was Google's QA manager that it would have been released in that state. You can forget about like the draw distance and the lower graphical settings. It was the stuttering, and basically once a minute I'd just stutter, and it made the game basically unplayable. Like, I generally, if you're watching a movie and every 5 minutes it jumped forward 30 seconds, you wouldn't be happy with that. So I don't know why should accept that in games as well. In the end of the day, where people are paying to access this title, whether through Pro or buying it outright. So that's basically my view. It's like,
yeah, it's a great comparison to movies, because you don't really consider it that in that way. But yeah, we've all no doubt suffered through our lives with buffering and how frustrating it is for waiting for that extra bit of the movie to load up. So that essentially it's the same thing that's happening here. It's buffering the game, and it skips. You get the little skip ahead from it. Lee, how much of the title have you played so far?
I played around about an hour of it. Very much like you, spent a lot of time how to discover fire. But yeah, I did get the stuttering, and it didn't bother me too much. So because I was very much deep in with discovering things and how to make the fire, and that was taking my attention away from the stuttering, so to speak. But yeah, so it didn't bother me so much, and I never even noticed the draw distance until I watched Jem's video.
Yeah,
to be quite honest, I never even noticed, because I have had experience with Ark in the past, and it was never, the most AAA amazing looking game, so to speak. So I wasn't expecting too much from it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I was too involved with discovering things and figuring things out to notice any of the things that are actually wrong with it.
Yeah,
until they were pointed out to me.
I think for me, the stuttering, it was basically constant, and as soon as I started the game, so I didn't even get a chance to start to try and figure stuff out before I start getting hit by technical difficulties in the game.
Yeah,
so it just really took me out the world so quickly. He's like,
yeah, there's a few takes on it that I kind of sit more in your camp, Lee, where I think I was just go check out the first look video, and again shout out to Jem over on his channel for the video which I use to get. I'm not that techie. That's why we have Tom and Richie here at Sounds of Stadia team to kind of lean us in the right direction for that. So when it comes to kind of command prompts and messing with the developer settings, for those who don't know, check out my first look, check out Jem's first look. But essentially, the video game has an option to input developer command prompts to alter the settings. So you can manually go in and change the frame rate, you can change the texture quality, the shadow quality, the draw distance. And after about 5 to 6 minutes of playing on my first look, that's exactly what I did. I booted up the command prompts, changed everything so the game was running at an uncapped frame rate, essentially. You can tweak that. So the game is locked on Stadia at 30, but you can essentially just break that mold and have it maxed out. And I think in Jem's video, he shows it off really well, where you can see the frames going up to 120 plus at some points, and the game runs perfectly fine.
What you're basically doing with them command prompts is, if anyone's ever played a PC game and you go into the settings, there's tends to be a lot more sliders there than you would on a console version of it. All you're doing is using the command prompts to adjust them. That's basically what you're doing.
So similar to Cyberpunk, you've got the slider in that for, do you want graphic fidelity or do you want frame
well,
rate,
that's how you typically get it nowadays with consoles. You get a binary choice usually. Where in PC gaming, you won't get that with Cyberpunk. What you'd have is a whole section of different settings that you can tweak to get the best performance for your hardware.
Yeah, so that's what I did. That's what I tweaked a few minutes in. And in my first look, similar to what Lee was saying, I don't really initially there's this stuttering on the shadows, which is what I called out in the video. But then once I went in and tweaked all the frame rate and stuff, I guess once or twice, I was kind of that engrossed in figuring out how to create a fire, not shit myself because the character does that a lot, eat poison berries, and build a thatch house for my Colossus character in the game. Again, I'm not a big graphics person. I've said on the show many times, I thought graphics in video games have looked beautiful for 10 plus years now. And Ark, yes, totally didn't look the best. I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima DLC right now, and that game is an absolute beauty. Nowhere on that level of standard, but at the same time, it didn't take away from my experience, and I enjoyed it. And I know there's a lot of people... The problem with a lot of things, similar to what Lee, you mentioned a few minutes ago about Stadia, is because it's took so long, this game's almost been put up onto a pedestal, where now people are judging it probably more harshly than they ever would have done. And back to what you were saying, Richie, probably rightly so. If the game runs like shit for most people on Chromecast, how most people probably only play Stadia, if they don't have a PC set up, they don't have the option to put in command prompts. And not everyone knows. Not everyone's seen Jem's video. Not everyone looks at Reddit. So for the mass majority of people, it is a bad part. And you're right, quality assurance testing, if for a paid service, probably needs to be better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone who's not the biggest graphics guy either. I'm someone in my first look of East 8 described it as the graphics remind me of Final Fantasy X, a PS2 game, and then I put 70 hours into that game, and I was perfect. I really enjoyed my time with it. So it wasn't the graphic quality of Ark; it was the actual performance, how the game was running, that I wasn't happy with. So
yeah,
I think the fact that all these graphical issues can be sorted out with unlocking the console and upgrading it in a way. Why didn't they do that in the first place if it can be done?
Well, this is the kind of crux of it, isn't it? If it's possible and if it runs, and this is what people have kind of took and ran away with a little bit, thinking what other games have we got lesser ports for? And I'm a firm believer that the people who make the game, the developers, know what's best for the title. So there's no doubt a reason why it is capped at 30 and stuff. I cannot imagine someone who's poured their heart and soul and their work into a game sits there and goes, let's give them a shit version. Let's give our audience a lesser version of what we can offer. So there's obviously a reason for it. You can't imagine us sat there saying, yes, let's sign off on this lesser version if there's not a definitive reason. Maybe it breaks the game an hour in if you have those settings on max. We don't know. We don't work at the team who makes the game. So I think we can't cast judgment without really knowing how the workings go. But back to Richie's point, it might have just needed more time in the oven. It already got delayed once. They may need to optimise it better, and hopefully it'll get a patch or two. But for those who are attacking devs and people in the Stadia community team and stuff, was you need to just grow up. That's not acceptable at all. I know the internet's a crazy place, but grow up, move on with your life. It's just a video game. But from a business and optics standpoint, it probably should be a better version, and I'm sure it'll get patched and stuff because that's what happens with video games. They get fixed over time. They're not a set-in-stone concrete thing, albeit the game is 6-year-old at this point still, so you'd like to think they've got it optimised a little bit better. But Ark never was a graphic fidelity powerhouse. But putting a pin in that one, gents, let's move it along. Let us know in the comments below if your first impressions of Ark. Have you enjoyed the game? Have you been let down by the frame rate drops? Do let us know. We love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Moving on, though, we got another pro game So, Richie, we wasted a whole podcast last week talking about the exciting pro games that were announced, and we were missing two of them because we got another one in Legend of the Keeper's Career of a Dungeon Master, also dropped, which is a fun little title where the roles are reversed a little bit. You have the bad guys on your team, and it's a nice little title. I'm glad it came as pro because I don't think I would have otherwise bought it. I know Tom was excited about this one. Have either of you two had a chance to check this one out yet?
I haven't.
Yeah. I'd spent about 20 minutes with it. Unfortunately, it's not my cup of tea, but I can see a lot of people in the community really enjoying it because there's a lot of depth in it, I think. A lot of depth.
Yeah, I think that's why it's not mine. It is like it's a dungeon management roguelite.
Yeah.
And I know this is where we always lean on Tom because he loves these type of titles, and that's great why we always have three people in. But yeah, it's one of those, because it's not my type of game either. This is why I love Pro so much, because we get such a different bag, a mixed bag of variety in games. I'll check this out, and for all you know, it might convert me and I might get it, but I like the fact that it's twisted on you. You play as the bad guys instead of always the hero, always the knights of the realm and stuff like that. You are goblins and ghouls, essentially, and you run a dungeon, which is such a cool concept to protect yourself. So we've got that one in and amongst, obviously, all the other pro games. Richie, you checked out Little Big Workshop. We also had the launch of Darksiders 2, Definitive Edition, which I hate saying. I love a good pun, but I hate that particular play on words, Definitive Edition. Go check that one out. It's apparently well run. And of course, Wavebreak. Love Wavebreak here. We've had loads of fun playing it, and it's dropped with all of the new updates and content too. So, more pro titles, 5 pro titles in particular. Just to round out that story, Lee, what's your top pro title of the month? Which one do you think's the best?
I'd say, for me, Darksiders 2.
Darksiders 2.
Really enjoyed that game. Played it before in the past, and it's great to dive back into that one again. Really enjoy that game.
Good stuff, of course, from the guys over at THQ, which we want to talk about in just a moment as well. So it always bodes well, I think, when we get stuff either on Stadia, on the platform, but more so as pro, because that always makes me think that there's a stronger relationship going on with the Google Stadia team to hash out these deals. And as we get going to our latest stories, that could bode quite well for the future. Richie, how about you? What's your top pro title for the month of September?
Without having played a few of them, I have played Darksiders 2 in the past, but I am leaning towards Little Big Workshop.
Interesting.
I really enjoy my time with that. So if you haven't watched it, go check out the stream.
Yeah, definitely. And sell those rubber ducks if you need to.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, moving on then, second story of the week, gentlemen. We got some news from Stadia and the Ubisoft Plus team this week, essentially giving us an update on the rollout. Ubisoft Plus is now available in even more countries. The list is on the Ubisoft website if you do want to break it down. But essentially, all the extra countries you'd basically imagine from this 1st of September, so available now. But interesting enough, with the rollout of all the additional countries, they've also informed us that the price structure is changing. So it's now kind of out of its beta, I guess, and the price is jumping up a little bit. However, if you get yourself in as a Ubisoft Plus founder, the price will be locked in at a discounted rate for as long as you keep your subscription. So, a bit of an interesting one. I've got the US prices. So, they're defining it as multi-platform access. So, you get Ubisoft Plus on PC, Stadia, and Amazon Luna, when it rolls out in other countries. Us three over here in the UK are yet to test out Amazon Luna still, which feels like an eternity ago since it was released in the States. But we'll wait. We'll be patient. I do want to do a great comparison with Stadia just to get my own hands on it eventually. But back to Ubisoft Plus. The subscription is multi-access. It's going to cost $22.99 over in the States. I think over here it's $14.99, and then it's discounted down to $12.99 if I'm not mistaken. The website only has US dollar prices. I might even be Canadian dollars now. I'm looking at the website in a bit more detail. But essentially, prices aside, gents, where do you sit on this Ubisoft Plus? Almost like a hook. Does this get you in for the saving to commit to it, or is this just one of those things you think, I'll just wait until I want the games?
I'm waiting. I'm kind of waiting for another month like we had was it November last year where we got Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs and Immortals Phoenix Rising all drop simultaneously. I'm waiting for a month like that to jump into Ubisoft Plus for the first time. Because I've said multiple times across our shows, I was planning getting Ubisoft Plus for for Rainbow Six Siege, but then the price of Siege was pretty much the same price as Ubisoft Plus, so it made more sense for me to just buy the game. So I haven't actually jumped in yet. I'm not going to jump in now just because it's cheaper, just so I can spend more money when I'm not actually playing in Ubisoft Plus games. Mm-hmm. But I could consider it for something like Riders Republic.
How about you, Lee?
Yeah, I'm actually a subscriber to Ubisoft Plus, and the only reason I am a subscriber, because otherwise I don't think I would be, is because I'm a content creator. Just for all the extra bits and bobs that you get with it. I do own a lot of the games that are on there already, but it's the extra content that you get with the Assassin's Creeds, the Immortals, things like that I've been able to utilise and put on a stream.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only reason. And I actually nearly yesterday I went on the Ubisoft Plus website to cancel it, and I couldn't find a way to cancel the damn thing.
Oh, it's one of that. It's like a gym membership. It's buried very deep in the settings.
Buried. I couldn't find it. I spent about 20 minutes, and in the end, I gave up. Woke up this morning, and the payment went for it. So that's me tied in for
another month.
So I'm tied in for another month anyway. So
yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, with content creators, obviously, you're getting a whole catalogue of games without having to spend £60-70 per title. So that makes sense because you want to play, as we do, as much as we possibly can. But then the reality is, at the end of the day, there's certain budgetary amounts that I'm willing to spend my own money on. So yes, at the same time, obviously you'll be getting a discount now. Then, so as long as you keep it, you're going to save £2 per month by the looks of it. It's a bit of a weird one because it does say as soon as you leave the subscription, the option's gone. You're back on full price if you ever come back to it. So
yeah,
I like you, Richie. I looked at it and like almost like considered it, but then there's no games coming out anytime soon. I know we've got Far Cry 6, but the great thing with Stadia, unlike the Luna one, is you still have the option to just buy the title. So then, is it worthwhile me just buying the title and not having that commitment to the subscription model all the time, or not? Whereas other platforms don't have that. It's still my understanding on Luna that you either subscribe to Ubisoft Plus or you subscribe to Luna Plus, and that's your games available. There is no opt-in to buy outright, as far as I'm aware. It's all based on channel packages. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, we don't have Luna in the UK yet, so I'm just going off something we spoke about probably 10 months ago at this point. However, with the Ubisoft Plus, I'm looking forward to it. I'm still under the understanding that they need to sort out the discounts with Ubisoft because I have a PlayStation 5, and at the moment, if I use my Ubisoft points, I can get 20% off a game purchase. So I can get the Far Cry 6 Deluxe Edition with all the DLC and content. Instead of paying £80, I can get it for about £64. I think the discount brings it down to. So I can buy it for £64 on my PS5, but if I buy the same on a Stadia, my only option is £80. So from a monetary standpoint, it makes business sense. Well, not business sense, but for me, I'm saving a decent chunk of money by ordering it on a different platform. And there is no route for that on Stadia, so I'd love them to address that and just see if they can get their Ubisoft points, because I play a lot of Ubisoft games. I don't know about you, but I've got a good 200-300 Ubi points saved up, so I might as well use them, right?
You tend to platinum them as well, so
I get my money's worth, as well. So Ubisoft Plus, folks, if you haven't done so already, sign up now and you will get a discounted rate for as long as you stay a subscriber. I love Ubisoft games, I really do. I'm very much looking forward to Far Cry 6. I feel like it's been a long time. And hopefully we'll hear some updates on Blood Dragon soon, Richie. You and me need to have a good look at that one as well. What's your top Ubisoft game, Lee? What's your highest rated one you've played recently? I know you've just started Immortals.
Yeah, Immortals is a fantastic game. I started that last week. Favourite one? Do you know, I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed Origins. I know that might be an unpopular. I really enjoyed it. Really, really did. Great story. I actually ended it where the story ended, but my wife, she carried on through all the DLC as well. It does get quite confusing, but there's hours and hours and hours of content for that game. It's brilliant.
I'm probably on the same fence because I actually think Origins is my favourite of the reboot ones, but a lot of with Assassin's Creed I think goes down to what you did in school. Like we did a lot of like ancient Egyptian stuff and Roman stuff. So with Origins fitting in that literally the time when the Egyptians and the Romans started to cross over with Caesar and Cleopatra and stuff, I thoroughly loved that. And have like grown up with movies like The Mummy and stuff, all the DLC and the Valley of the Dead and everything, and Tutankhamun and Giant Osiris and Anubis warriors and stuff. It's in Scorpions. It's beautiful. And I played that game for 140 plus hours I think. And there's just something about Sun-Baked Egypt which just even though Valhalla is in my home country, it still didn't resonate as much as me with like Bayek's story in that place. So yeah, I'd love to see more of it. We mentioned on one of our side quests, I think, Richie, how the Assassin's Creed games always start with a new protagonist. I was like, I'd love a whole other game with Bayek and his wife again, and yet we probably will never see a sequel to Origins. It'll always be a new protagonist, new location, new some whatever, and it's like, I'd easy dive back in from the 100 Hours in Egypt with just a different story.
I'd like them to do like, okay, we're going to the next 3 games are going to be a trilogy. You're going to play like the same character throughout the trilogy, and just like kind of plan the trilogy from the start rather than just making a game. Okay, how do we do the story next, and then execute that so you get to stick with the same character for quite a while, like we did with Ezio.
Yeah, I mean Ezio's reveal is probably arguably the best character and series of titles, and there's probably a reason for that. Is you've played 3 games with the guy, so you endear yourself to him a little bit more. But yeah, that's it for the Ubisoft news. Moving on, next story of the week. We've got a little bit of a tease from the guys over at THQ Nordic, part of course, the legendary Embracer Group, who just buy and acquire every company under the sun right now. They've given us a tease that they are celebrating their 10th anniversary this coming September 17th, 8 PM UK time. We may very much cover the showcase on the channel, so do keep tuned for that one. But they've came out and quoted that they are going to celebrate the 10th anniversary by announcing 6 new games, including new installments in legendary franchises, and of course that fans have been waiting for decades. So, gentlemen, THQ Nordic, we know they cover lots of things. They have already came out and said there will be no Time Splitters, much to my dismay. I cannot wait for a new Time Splitters game.
At least acknowledging it, though.
That is good, of getting out in front of it, of course. Of course, this is the team behind the likes of SpongeBob, Battle for Bikini Bottom, Darksiders games, Lee, so it might be another Darksiders entry, Destroy All Humans, Wreckfest, and a couple of other titles as well. Anything in particular? 6 new games, so hopefully we're getting a few of them. We should also point out, actually, over on Twitter, they did tease, someone did ask about the games coming over to Stadia. It was Mr. 1030 asked about releases on the Stadia platform, and they did reply saying, we just released Darksiders 2, maybe more will follow, winky emoji. Now, I don't think a social media team would be allowed to say something that inclined if there wasn't something in the pipeline. So, 6 titles, gents. Any thoughts or any hopes of what THQ Nordic could bring? I'll throw it over to you, Richie, first.
This is a difficult one, considering THQ Nordic. We know they're part of the Embrace Group, but THQ Nordic themselves are made up of 19 studios. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of different potential games it could be. I think a new Darksiders, potentially, because the article we're reading from Eurogamer specifically mentions the dev studio for Darksiders. I really don't know. I'd have to just dig into like what franchises THQ Nordic actually own, and that's like most of them. So
yeah, they're not looking at the titles for me. There's like, I think we probably will get another Destroy All Humans. I do believe that if they did the remaster like last year, I think that's a testing the waters for if there's still an appetite for that type of title. And I think it sold quite well from what I recall. Same with SpongeBob, so I can imagine there's something new in the pipeline for that. And we do know we're getting Kronos. That's not Kronos Before the Ashes, sorry. That's one that I think might get a port. Lee, what about you? Any particular titles stand out from THQ that tickle your fancy?
Outsiders 3, obviously, and there's one that's missing, and I was hoping would be there, and it's a game called Red Faction.
Oh, you're right.
Back in the day. I love that game. First-person shooter, and you could one of the first games you could actually destroy the environment
with those rocket launchers.
Yeah, and you could take several different paths through the map, and I was hoping that would be there, but no, like a remastered version. But not that.
That could very be easily one of the things they're teasing, saying, something that people have been waiting for years. Like a revival of that franchise. That won't fit.
Well, we had Red Faction 1 and 2, then we had... Was it Red Faction Armageddon? Was it? And then they did do a remastered edition that came out on the PlayStation. But yeah, I'd love to see that. That was when I got a PlayStation 2, me and my brother, we got Star Wars Starfighter and Red Faction were the first games that... I think there was only like 10 titles out when the PS2 launched. And that was the two we picked up, and we played that to hell, especially the multiplayer league. You saw about the destructible environments. There's that map where you both start off on a big concrete base on each side of a canyon.
Yep.
There's not really much there. It's a very, very small map, but you both start with rocket launchers, and you just go to town on each other. Oh, it's so fun. It's essentially Total Recall, the game, as well. You get yourself to Mars, there's a dig mining corporation going on, and it's a whole thing. But very, very beloved franchise for me, and it has been very, very dormant.
One thing I will say about Red Faction, though, is that makes it probably a bit less likely at THQ Nordic thing is in 2012, Deep Silver took over as publisher. No. Now, they are still all part of ultimately the Embracer Group, but they're in a different arm of the corporation now.
Interesting. I'm pretty sure THQ did... is it... Actually, 2 seconds. I might have it right here. Oh, no, it was Codemasters. Never mind.
THQ also used to do the WWE or WWF series.
Yeah, they did back in. Well. Could you imagine, Richie, after we covered it last week, saying 2K and WWE may not be getting along too well, and then next week THQ come out and go, guess who's doing the wrestling games again? We can hope. There are a few titles in there that I've never really heard that much of. Chicken Police.
Could be a part of like Biomutant.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think that'll be in the 6th title franchise, but I would love to see Biomutant. That was one of the titles where, when it launched in the summer, it created the conversation of like, why isn't this on Stadia? It's not a AAA game, but at the same time, it's like it's a bigger title to release this year, and it was just nothing, silence. And then that was one of a few titles as we head into the end of the year, which we're clearly not going to see on the platform. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm very looking forward to seeing what THQ do bring to the table. And like I said, I think it's Friday the 17th at 8 o'clock UK time, so we will most likely be covering it. As I look over the list, glance, Super Lucky Tale, Zoo Tycoon. Could have sworn that was Microsoft, but it's on their website.
Give us a Zoo Tycoon game.
Give me a Zoo Tycoon. It might be like games they publish as well now, because they've got Quantum Break in here, and that was made by Remedy. Yeah. So either way, publishers and game developers, it's a crazy world out there. But we'll be there to celebrate 10 years of THQ Nordic and see what they tease, and hopefully we'll get some news on some Stadia titles as well, because they have got a lot of games out. We should point out Destroy All Humans, SpongeBob, Darksiders. They have a lot of titles actually out on the platform already, so there is a good working relationship going there. Right then, mixing things up a bit, let's step away from the games a little while. Gentlemen, you can now change your name on Stadia without getting in touch with the chat support team. I've done this week. The Sounds of Stadia account, if you are a friend over on Stadia, don't panic. I haven't disappeared, I haven't blocked you. It's simply been changed to Helix Cloud now to reflect our channel change. And ironically enough, gentlemen, I did the change a mere 1 hour before this announcement went live. I spoke to chat, the guy tried to change it for me, couldn't figure it out, then did it straight away, seamlessly changed, and then an hour later the community blog went up saying you can change your name directly through the app now, on the Chrome browser, sorry. And I was just I sat there going, of course this is what would happen. But yes, any intention to jazz up your names, change them a little bit? Or where can people find you on Stadia if they'd like to play games?
I've done it once, I'm not doing it again.
So you're now down as just CloudGamingDad?
CloudGamingDad, that's it, yeah. It used to be StadiaDad Games. Mm-hmm. Before that, I've changed it twice, actually. I think it had my old, what I've always used throughout the years, which was my surname and my date of birth.
Same.
And then obviously when I started content creating, I changed it to StadiaDad Games, and then when I had my rebrand, CloudGamingDad.
Terrific. Richie, how about you?
Go on.
Well, I'm still Richie C89, as I have been right from the start. It's what my Twitter handle is. I'm trying to get it Richie C89 everywhere, but the only things I can't seem to get my hands on are PlayStation and Twitch.
And Twitch
got already taken.
Yeah.
I don't stream on Twitch, so I don't care. I wish I was on PlayStation though.
Keep mixed up. Change name again. It's just one of those life improvements, quality of life improvements that we get here. It's nice to see it's finally happened, because to change your name, it is a bit tedious that you would have to open a chat forum, speak to employee 789, and then tell them the whole situation, and then they go away. And whereas most websites now, you just go into your account, go edit, and then delete, type in the new one. This name is taken. Damn it! delete, type a new one. This name is also taken, damn it. And then eventually you settle on one thing.
Most places have a separate account name and display name just for that reason, so you can easily change your display name whenever and however you want, which I'm guessing what this update is basically about, where the account name might be a bit more tricky.
Indeed. But it's great to see that it's finally out there. Do let us know if you change your name, but now look out for Helix Cloud when we pop up to play titles on a Thursday night and other days. Moving on then from that story, next up we have some news from Germany that they are expanding their investment in partnership with Google over 1 billion euros into the digital future of cloud, not just gaming, but we do hope this will have a knock-on effect. From the the Google blog, in fact, they put out an article around infrastructure, basically announcing in partnership with the Japanese government, in fact, that they are increasing the server load in Frankfurt. It's just about to open 20 kilometers, including a giant internet infrastructure hub, which is going to improve cloud gaming. Why do I always say gaming? I always go back to cloud gaming. We say it so often, it just rolls off the tongue. As soon as I say cloud, it has to be followed. Google Cloud services everywhere are going to be increased tenfold thanks to this investment. The German government are massively in on kind of like the eco side of things as well, so it's going to be carbon neutral, and it's essentially just going to create a much bigger, secure infrastructure and a larger infrastructure for all things cloud, so businesses, government, gaming, of course, and all things in cloud. Not really much to talk about this story, gentlemen, other than you would hope, being in the European, well, not in the European zone, that could be a touchy subject in its own right. Being geographically in and around Europe, we and every Stadia player in and around Germany and such should benefit from these cloud infrastructures being improved day on day, year on year. And this goes back to, I think, Richie, what we said on the Cloud Gaming Extreme podcast, that cloud in its general sense is still in its infancy, and it's only going to get better. An investment like this just shows that, yes, latency, lag, delay, all of those issues you see people talk about online and say Stadia doesn't work for me because I have bad internet or stuff. It's only going to get better. It might not be this year, it might not be in 5-10 years, but it's not going to go backwards. It's only going to get better. 5G, 4G, internet, Wi-Fi, fiber, direct to the property. It's only going to get better.
I've been a big proponent as well of saying, like, as more and more people are demanding like low latency cloud access to cloud, so for things like movie streaming and gaming, internet service providers are going to have to improve their services, because otherwise they'll get left behind by the competition.
That's it, and everything goes to the cloud now as well. Lee, what's the internet like in your neck of the woods? Generally quite good.
I use Virgin Media, and it's faultless where I am. But before that, I used a BT line, and I think it was Talk, and we had issue after issue after issue. It would be in and out all the time. That's when I first started content creating, and about a month or two in after, I thought I can't carry on doing what I want to do with the internet I got, and we had Virgin installed. I've not looked back. Fantastic.
Yeah, I used to be with PlusNet, which is also through like a BT line, and my issue was the speeds were just not. They just weren't good enough when I first started playing. This is even before. I was a content creator, but I was like, the speeds just weren't really good enough for Stadia, so I upgraded to Virgin so I could get actual fibre optic, and then I actually upgraded my router because I found Virgin's router to be absolutely shoddy. And as soon as I got my Google Wi-Fi set up, I haven't had an issue with Stadia at all. Where on the old Virgin one, I could barely play in my office, but I was fine anywhere else in the house. Which, considering this is where I make content, it was kind of a problem.
Yeah, I had similar things with infrastructure. I think I've got Google Wi-Fi as well, and I won't look back from that because it's just set up the house better than it ever has been. But infrastructure aside, I can guarantee you that my internet is still 10 times better than it was 5 years ago. 10 times better than it was 10 years ago. So again, we know it's a use case basis wherever you are on the planet, different countries, different infrastructures and stuff. But the more investment that goes in, like this example in Germany, you've got to imagine every country and every government has these conversations about infrastructure, like global cloud infrastructure, as it becomes more pertinent for businesses, for technology, for consumers. It's only going to get better. There's always more money going into it, so it's just time. You might not be able to play Stadia just yet, But hell, if I can play at the top of the shard in 2021, what the hell will we be able to do in 2030, 2040, 2050? And beyond, which brings us to our next story, 2077, Cyberpunk specifically, just had an update recently. We skipped the story last week because we ran out of time, as we do. But I wanted to bring it up this week because there's a couple of titles in particular that are getting boosts. So the Cyberpunk devs, CD Projekt Red, have came out and just reiterated that there will be a next-gen Cyberpunk and a Witcher 3 next-gen update that will arrive this year. So they're definitely aiming for a date in late 2021. Which leads me to the question, I guess. It's in line with a couple of things, actually, gentlemen, because Little Nightmares 2 just also had a free enhanced edition that came out for PC, PS5 and Xbox. And also, I think there is another game, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, to throw it back to Ubisoft. That recently got a 60 frames support patch for next-gen consoles as well, so PS5 and Xbox. And in a nutshell, I wanted to kind of bulk all these stories together, gents, because where does this leave Stadia in the conversation with... We've covered it a few times, or is it next-gen, is it middle of the road, is it last-gen still? But as these games get these new iterations, it leaves me questioning, do we see this improvement put into the Stadia ports? Cyberpunk runs fantastic on Stadia, but are we now just going to be left behind with that's the port, that's what you're getting? Or will we see these next-gen updates come in line with other consoles? Little Nightmares 2, free enhanced edition for everyone else who bought the game, but why, as the consumer on Stadia, do we not get the same benefits as other consumers who paid the exact same price, unless they got it free and pro, of course? You get what I'm getting at. It's like, how many games are going to get updates and we just, as Stadia users, we just get left with the scraps of what we got initially?
Well, I think some of it could be what Stadia, like what technology Stadia supports at the moment. For example, one of the big ones I pulled out from Little Nightmares 2, one of the big improvements is going to be ray tracing. Stadia currently doesn't support ray tracing. So until they actually support it, then that might be why the Little Nightmares devs looked at and went, well, this platform doesn't support the technology we're implementing, therefore we just can't do it on that platform. With the CG Project Red stuff, which are free, not currently on the platform. I'd love to see it come. I am probably going to play it again with the next gen update, and I probably will play it on PS5 even if it comes to Stadia, because it's a free update and I already own the game, so I'm not going to just buy the game again. But with Cyberpunk again, it might just be a case of, I mean, with the Cyberpunk, it could come. It might just not have been mentioned in the article. We've seen that's happened before with Stadia, but I think a lot of this can actually just come down to Google Stadia themselves going, no, we want to have that upgrade on our platform. Because I don't think a lot of devs, they're going to look at the PlayStation and their Xbox as higher priority than Stadia, just because there's a bigger install base. So it's the similar argument to like what games are coming to the platform. Google have got a budget for Stadia and they'll spend it how they see fit. It's what we talked about last week on SideQuest.
Yeah, great point. I guess with some of the ports, it's some like Stadia, we're usually under the impression that they get the PC variant. So if they're updating it there, it should just transition across. But you never know. I think it's just weird that you read, like, within the space of 2 weeks, there's 3 stories there about basically better versions of the game being given to a different audience who they're not any lesser than the people on this platform, but the way it sometimes feels is that, you're getting again, Ark was a prime example, you're getting an inferior version, but you're paying the same price. So, Lee, how about you? There's 3 titles here. You've probably played all of them, as far as I'm aware. What do you think?
Witcher 3, I'd be done. I'd be so happy if that came to the platform. But I look at it the way as Stadia like to play the cards close to the chest. We all know that. And they very rarely talk about what's coming or what possibly do with the platform. It's been mentioned in the past about possible upgrades, but in certain interviews. So time will tell. And like I've said, my expectations, I keep them right down now. I squash them right down. So time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. I would also like to echo that The Witcher 3 would be amazing on this platform. And with it getting a next-gen port and with Cyberpunk running so well on Stadia, I really do have that just like gut feeling that come the end of this year, we could get a surprise announcement for it. But we are all just waiting. That's the weird thing. Like,
I still stand by. I think Stadia is probably the best place outside of top end PC to play Cyberpunk. Now, maybe I'm not sure how it would perform on like PS5 and Xbox Series X, but at launch, Stadia was definitely the best place, unless you had a top end gaming PC, to play that game.
You also add as well, we are getting what is called the next gen version of FIFA 22. Whether that be the technology, whether it be the technology that it runs with, or graphically, if it will match the PS5 or the Xbox Series version, I don't know. But we are getting the next gen version of that. So, yeah,
it's one of those where I think as we kind of creep up on Stadia's 2-year anniversary, which is only two short months away now in November, it's surprising they've not. I say surprising. What point will they have to address that? Now, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have been out in the wild for coming up a year nearly themselves, believe it or not. At what point do they come out and address and say, actually, we are capable of competing because everything's done behind the scenes, it's all server-side. We've been upgrading them for the last 2 years, and I know some people are like, well, why should they come out and announce it? It's because it's a competitive market, and if you can't show that you're keeping up with your competition, you're not very competitive, and to succeed, you need to be competitive in a consumer business marketplace. You can't just create your product and then let it sit on the shelf while everyone iterates and improves. You need to keep in the game. And I would just love them to come out and say, yeah, the last year we've been working hard to improve server blades, ray tracing will go live later this year on all these exciting titles that you've already have and some that are still yet to come. But just radio silence I just don't think does much for them. But I'm still waiting for that day they go, right, we've got the budget signed off for the next fiscal year. We've got this list of titles signed off. We're working with all these exciting new devs. The future looks bright. And all I can see is like articles of Cyberpunk improved on PS5. Little Nightmares free patch upgrade on Xbox. Assassin's Creed Odyssey running better than ever on XYZ. And we don't hear anything. And I just think it's a communication disconnect sometimes that could be improved upon. But like I said, Lee, time will tell, and I'd love to see The Witcher come to the platform by the end of the year. Because CD Projekt Red must love Stadia at this point, knowing how well their game runs. But speaking of games and titles, moving on to one of our final stories of the week. PlayerUnknown has moved away from the PlayerUnknown studio who made PUBG. So Brendan Green, who's the actual creator of PUBG, he's left his parent company Krafton, who were working on PUBG Productions, we should say. He set up his own business to make his own games, and it's going to be called PUBG Special Projects, which I wish they'd just get away with from the PUBG names. Calling everything PUBG this and PUBG that just creates convoluted. What would we say a few weeks ago, Richie? The new name for the game is technically PUBG.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah, because the way the marketing branding works is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Either way, PUBG Special Projects is going to be a new Amsterdam division, and he's going to be working on a new project called codenamed Prologue.
Prologue's something he's reportedly already been working on under at Krafton, so it seems like he set up a new studio to work on that. So although and Krafton actually own a share in PlayerUnknown Productions, so he's kind of left, but also still working with them quite closely, and they have a literal stake in his business. So
there's some seed money. Go create something. See if you can capture lightning in a bottle once again. Because he did say he's very grateful for everyone at PUBG and Krafton for helping him take a chance on opportunities. But it is weird that he's still kind of funded by them in a shareholder way. I know he said for some time that he wants to kind of do his own thing, more story-based stuff. And I know that I think the Prologue thing that he has been working on is supposed to take place in the PUBG world, but it's going to be an actual story. So I'm very intrigued to see how that happens, because me and you, Richie, love PUBG anyway. But I couldn't imagine. I don't know where my interest levels sit with playing a campaign in that world. Yeah,
I've never played that game before. You know what this game needs? A story.
I never think that way with PUBG, do you? Never.
No, PUBG. It's just it is what it is. It's a battle royale. Everyone drops into the island, goes and kills each other.
It's
good fun, but
it's straight to the point pretty much, and then you usually die before you get a chance to think about a story. But either way, we'll keep an eye on that one. Hopefully the relationship with Stadia stays alive and well as he goes off and does his own thing too. Moving on, we've got the final two stories of the week. Orcs Must Die 3 has just had a big update, so if you're still playing that title, it's had loads of patches, dropped some big changes, introducing new modes, new achievements. There's a whole list of patch notes over with our friends at StadiaSource.com if you want a full breakdown. Richie, we really enjoyed this game. Lee, while we've got you here, what was your take on Orcs Must Die 3? It seems like it'd be right up your street for a bit of fun.
I've streamed it before in the past with a couple of guys in the community. It'd be better you could have a lot more players on it.
Yeah, that was basically our take. Because it's great fun, but you're being locked at 2. Even if it's opened up to 4 players.
4, or if possible 8. 8 would be amazing. Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
It is,
even if it wasn't everything, it was just certain game modes. So, we'll create some new maps specifically aimed at 8 players.
Yeah. We said the exact same thing when we had our first look, like ages ago now, and we had loads of fun. But there was that element where you just crank up the numbers of bad guys, and crank up the numbers of good guys, and the game would be equally, if not more, fun just by those extra interactions. Like Richie, you take the left corridor, Lee, you get the right corridor, I'll hold the main entrance. It just cranks up the fun with more play. Like multiplayer games thrive on more people. I think having it limited to 2 seems like such an odd choice.
Yeah.
Especially when they touted the game running on Stadia initially with dealing with multiple AI enemies is like their selling point is they could have more on Stadia than any other platform. And then limited to just 2 human players, but either way, I'm sure it's got to be something that they've discussed over there anyway, so time will tell. But if you're still playing the game, go check it out. There's more features, more updates, and more importantly, more game modes to delve into as well. Final story of the week, we have an update from the Life is Strange TV series, Richie. Weirdly enough, we are getting Life is Strange True Colours comes out. The new entry in the franchise comes from Don't Nod and Square Enix this coming Thursday. It drops 5 p.m. UK time. We've got it pre-ordered, Richie, and we will be playing it on the channel together.
We will indeed.
See what the story's all about. As will Lee, I believe you're playing it with your daughter this coming Friday.
I won't be playing it. She will be playing it because she's a massive fan of the game. Massive fan, to the point where she sits crying while she's playing it. She really gets herself involved with the story. So she'll be playing it. I'll be sat next to her commentating. So yeah, we love doing those sort of things together. We've done it in the past, and we always have a good time. So look out for that one.
They are great titles, and I'm hoping True Colours lives up to the kind of the emotional story that you usually get from the other entries in the franchise. So if you're looking for Life is Strange content, just check it out here. Helix Cloud Games, and over on CloudGamingDad as well. Loads of different variations. But Richie, back to the story.
Yeah.
TV adaptation in the works.
Yeah, I completely forgot it was a thing. To be perfectly honest, until I saw this IGN article and was like, "Oh, there's a Life is Strange TV adaptation." I think it's going to be based around the first games, potentially with. I could see them working some of the stuff of Before the Storm into it, which more Max and Chloe is always going to be a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, well, Before the Storm is essentially the prequel to the main title, and I think a good starting point would... It seems almost like perfect to just cast the characters and tell almost the exact same story, because it's such a good story in the original game. And we should point out, remember, one of your pro games for September would have been Life is Strange Remastered if it hadn't been delayed until 2022. So there's kind of a whole other conversation around, would we have got 6 pro games if not? Or do we think... I mean, not Ark, because we knew we were getting that. Do we think Legends of Keepers was a filler? Or do you think we would have got 6?
We might have got 6, to be honest. It's entirely possible. But with Legends of Keepers being almost a shadow drop as a pro game, when it was literally the pro games were announced a couple of days after the blog announced, and we suddenly had extra games, I could see it just going, we need something else. That Legend of Keepers might have been slated for next month or something and just brought it forward.
Interesting. Any particular actors, actresses that you'd pigeonhole for Life is Strange, the TV show?
You're asking the wrong person for this.
Lee, how about you?
Yeah. You're asking the wrong person. For me personally, I can't... We've all played the story. We all took our own paths, chosen our own dialogue for this. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to do it. Because
I'm actually replaying it on PlayStation now. I started the other night.
The game itself is like watching a TV series. It's the way it's broke up. It's set up in episodes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued how they're going to do this. If it appears on Netflix, are they going to involve that sort of interactiveness with your remote? Can you pick different... Are they going to film different dialogue, etc., different paths you can take?
Well,
you think they could do that?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think when it goes back to the actors, I think Life is Strange is almost, although technically it's not an indie game, it's made by Square Enix. It always has that a bit of an indie feel, everything from like the music to just the style of game. So I'd like them to take a chance on like some lesser known actors and actresses, like instead of going for safe big names, to give other people a chance.
Yeah. Netflix tends to do that though. Look at Stranger Things. We never knew any of those guys before they hit us with that series.
Well, same for a lot of the cast of Game of Thrones. Like, you obviously got people like Sean Bean, who's well known, but a lot of the casts, like, no one who knew who Kit Harington was before Game of Thrones. So
that's very true, and they're all mega superstars now. So whatever can be
all
able
in
to
Marvel
see.
now.
Well, yeah, that as well. I do agree. I think maybe some lesser known actors and actresses, up and coming ones. I think because the audience is quite young anyway, you're not going to be able to get Scarlett Johansson in to play any of these characters when she's not quite a teenager in school anymore. So I think it leaves the door open for that. And again, it probably keeps the budget down as well. I can't imagine all these game industries that are trying to branch out and make television and movies, they're not all going to land the same budget that like HBO is giving The Last of Us TV series, where it's like 150 million per episode or something like that. So it's keep it on the down low.
I think it might be competitive for some of the characters in, because they're all very well written, even some of like the side characters. So I think if you're like an upcoming actor, actress, you better be looking at it and go, you know what? He's some well-written characters, an awesome story. I can make my mark here. Yeah,
it's very interesting to think about the transition from game to TV and movie. Just if you're an actor or an actress doing the research for the role, like imagine being Pedro Pascal going into doing The Last of Us now, and you could literally play the whole game series and get such a rich, detailed feel for the character you're about to play, as opposed to read a book or read just a script. Like, it must give you a whole different dynamic for the approach of the world and the feeling and the emotions you put into your kind of take on the character.
I can see it both ways. In some ways, when the character's well established as an actor and actress, you're looking at the character and go, this is how the character is, this is how people expect it. Where if it's a completely new character, you go, I can put my take on this character.
Very true. Did either of you see the Leon Kennedy reveals for the Resident Evil series this last week? They put out some still images of Jill and Leon, and because Leon doesn't have like a blonde swoop over and he's got a bit of a goatee, everyone's like, it's not Leon, that's ridiculous. It's one still image of one character, but because he doesn't, like you said, Richie, doesn't look like his video game counterpart, there's like a whole side of the internet now kicking off saying, terrible casting, he's rubbish in the role. It's like, you've not even seen him act yet, you've just seen one still image of him holding a gun and his hair's not right. So it's like, there is like kind of counterproductive things that come with that, but I guess we'll see. We're not far off the Resident Evil series. I think it's penciled in for this Halloween, so not too far to go, and hopefully we'll see some news about Resident Evil. I forgot the name now. What's the deal? What's the separate game mode we were supposed to get with Village and it got delayed?
God. Question.
Resident Evil
I can't remember.
Reverse.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow, people are going to forget about that. It's going to be a shadow drop and no one's going to...
Well, we clearly forgot about it.
Well, there's proof. But what you will not forget about, ladies and gentlemen, is to click like on the video, subscribe down below, and click that bell so you're kept in the loop with all things Sounds of Stadia podcast and Helix Cloud Games, because we do more than just a podcast every week. We also bring you live streams, Let's Plays, First Looks, Discord community chat, all in the description below if you want to check out more of the channel. Of course, very special thanks to our lovely guest Lee from CloudGamingDad channel. Lee, before we wrap up the show, do tell the lovely people out there where they can find you on Twitter and what your channel is up to this coming week. Just give them a little reminder.
You can catch me on Twitter at CloudGamingDad, and you can catch me over on YouTube at the CloudGamingDad every Wednesday, Friday and Sunday at 9 p.m. Wednesdays, we do the A to Z of Google Stadia. This week we're about to hit H, and we'll be playing Human Fall Flat and Hotline Miami. Friday, the Late Stadia show has been put to bed for a few weeks, just giving it a bit of a rest, while I've got a few things in the pipeline, and we're going to be calling that the Friday Stadia Club. So keep your eye out for that at 9 p.m. And on Sundays, I'm doing the Immortals Phoenix playthrough, yes, and all at 9 p.m.
Terrific. So if you are lacking Stadia content in your life, go check out Lee's channel. Keep it locked to our channel. There's more stuff dropping every single day. Don't forget to go check out our videos that we've got up. Richie plays Little Big Workshop, creates his own shop selling rubber ducks this past Thursday. I went up to the top of the shard and played games higher than anyone in this entire planet has before. Unless you beat me, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to follow our Twitter feed at Helix Cloud Games, so you are kept up to date with our charity sponsor stream we're doing in celebration of our 2nd anniversary this upcoming Saturday, 2nd of October, where we're going to be doing stuff for multiple charities and hopefully raising some cash for a much needed good cause. That is all the news we have for the week. Thank you once again, Lee, special guest. Great having you on the show, buddy. We've wanted to do it for some time, and I'm glad we finally got you on. So thank you very much. Richie, we're about to go away and record Sounds of Stadia SideQuest, which is our episode.
Well, it's Helix Cloud Gaming SideQuest now.
Whatever. It's got SideQuest in the title. It's in the link.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as I started saying that, I'd said it wrong, but I didn't think you would say anything.
No,
Helix
I'm going
Cloud Games SideQuest.
You'd call me out, so...
I would. What are we discussing this week, Richie?
As I alluded to earlier in the show, because with Ark coming to Stadia in a bit of state, I wanted to talk about quality control on Google Stadia.
Interesting one. And do remember, folks, if you want that content a little bit earlier, you can get it up to 6 days, in fact, every Sunday after we record the episode by clicking join on the YouTube channel below. From as little as 99 pence, you can support us a little bit further. Join the Helix Club. Special badges next to your name, special access to stickers in the chat, and exclusive early access to some of our content. There is actually a video still up for members, Richie, we should point out, where we played a little quiz game with them as part of our 100 episodes celebration stream, where people had to guess the Stadia game by zoomed in screenshots, and you got 5 points and 4 points, 3 points, 2 points for every zoomed out version of the shot. We played. It was really fun. We had pizza, we had beers. If you're a member, you get access to that video right now. But all of our content does eventually go on free feed, so do not worry if you don't have the spare change to send our way. Keep it in your pocket and it'll drop free eventually on the channel. That's it for the roundup. Hope you have a great week, everyone. Mine has been Chris.
I've been Richie.
Been Lee.
We've been Helix Cloud Games, bringing you the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you for the next one. Game on. Goodbye.